Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Yes.
Thiago Motta has finally been sacked by Juventus with Igor Tudor signing a contract through the end of the season. Jules?
Yeah, that was inevitable, unfortunately, after especially the last two defeats against Fiorentina and Atalanta for Thiago Motta, who felt that this new project never got going. It can't be only his fault. Obviously, we talk about Giuntoli, I think, in the sporting director in the last show or the one before. Even some of the players, I think, have to be accountable for this average season. Really, I mean, they're fifth, 1 point behind fourth place. So Champions League is still very much possible. It's not like if they were 12th or even 14th or 15th, like teams in the Premier League, for example, that are quite big names. But yeah, I feel a little bit for him because I think there's something there. But clearly the step up from Bologna to Juve was too big.
There may be something there. I think the way he personally behaved also shows that he is definitely not ready for this job. I've got a piece coming out with kind of the reasons why this was a necessary step. Fundamentally, I just go back to, it's not just the results, although the results were not good. Yeah. And ultimately, when you have the second highest wage bill, you should not be fifth on the table. It's more the fact what he did with the club assets, with the fact that when you have Moise Kean and Nicola Fagioli, who you send away, and then they start playing really, really well. Ken, we didn't talk about this, but 2 goals against Germany, not too bad. When you've got Dusan Vlahovic, and then you never play the guy, when you fall out with so many people, when you keep moving players all over the pitch, constantly different positions, and it's still bad. And when you throw the players under the bus in a press conference, you got to go.
Yeah. So Gab, Igor Tudor, as you said, is very much an interim boss for now. But what should we read into it?
So
and how well can he do, by the way?
Okay, so obviously Tudor, he was an assistant under Andrea Pirlo, played with the club. He's a smart guy, although
did well at Marseille.
But sometimes can be a bit difficult, as we saw in Marseille, with the Camoranesi business and stuff like that. I don't think he's lasted a year. I think the Marseille job is literally the longest appointment he's had.
And Verona, obviously, Verona too. But
and at Verona, he came in and he took them up to 9.
True, yeah.
But obviously he had issues at Lazio. I don't know. I mean, you have to get them there. If I'm Juve, everybody's under review. You mentioned Giuntoli there. You have to review Giuntoli's situation. You have to talk about the relationship. In the stories that came out initially, the reason this happened is Giuntoli Scanavino is another executive, but he's the guy who never talks. He's like the money guy. And Motta and some other people, they had a dinner to clear the air to understand the situation. And apparently what happened at the end was Motta didn't seem concerned enough about the situation. These are the reasons that came out.
Yeah.
There's also a report which both denied that Giuntoli said, I'm ashamed that I hired you. You can't talk that way. However, you need to be held accountable for this, for the signings, for the amount of money you spent, for the agents that you involve in your signings. All these things you have to weigh up. And I don't blame them for not making a long commitment to Tudor. They got to review from the top down, starting with Giuntoli, and ask themselves, is this the right person to guide the club? Is this the right person to lead a new manager search?
Gab, let's give a shout out to the first nation to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Your boys, Japan.
How about this? Man, everybody goes, let's get a fancy foreign coach, blah, 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 Pochettino, Tuchel. No. It's Moriyasu-san, Hajime.
Moriyasu-san, yeah.
12 wins, 1 draw, 48 goals scored, 2 conceded. They wiped the floor with everyone. I mean, they drew with Australia. Midweek, they beat Bahrain 2-0, and they are the first team to properly qualify. And Asian qualifying, admittedly, Asian qualifying for the 2026 World Cup, it feels like it started like 1975. But still,
it's long.
Well done. It gives you a lot of time to plan. My man Zion Suzuki, how about that? Half Ghanaian, half Japanese.
Great generation again of players.
And look, Japanese players are all over. It's so many big clubs around Europe. They showed at the last World Cup, and of course they put Germany to the sword
and lost to Croatia on pens.
They can do something special. Now, we're not used to seeing Barcelona women's team lose, Jules, especially not in La Liga. But it happened last month against Levante. Now it happened again in the Clásico against Real Madrid 3-1 with late goals from Caroline Weir, and also controversially disallowed goal, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this was a great game. You could have seen it on television in the UK here. It was early kickoff on Sunday. It was really, really good. Under the pouring rain as well in Barcelona, Montjuic, by the way. But in the stadium, pretty much full or not far from full. Certainly looked like on watching on television. And Linda Caicedo, I think we mentioned her on last week's show after the Champions League, because she was so good. She was so good again in this game, a pace and everything. And yeah, Barca had a lot of control, but really didn't do enough with it. Graham Hansen scored to make it 1-1 with 10 minutes to go. And then at that point, you say, okay, Barca now are going to go and win it.
Well, and I thought they were going to. They thought they were going to. Can you work out what happened with the goal that was disallowed? Because, of course, there's no commentary on my crappy feed.
The commentary that I had, we're not sure either why that goal was not given. And then after that, on the counter, again, Caicedo wonderful. And Caroline Weir, who played for Scotland, it's her third season in Madrid. She didn't play at all last season through injury. She was really good when she was at City before moving to Spain. And I just like the fact that she comes on after an hour and basically goes and scores the winning goals. FIFA's appeals committee has decided to kick Leon out of the Club World Cup. Gab, what did they do and what happens next?
All right, a couple points to say on this. So FIFA have competition rules, and one of the clear rules is against multi-club ownership.
Yeah.
Like you can't have two clubs in there where the owner has same owner has significant control over both.
Like UEFA in the Champions League, right? Similar-ish.
Similar concept, except UEFA in the Champions League. Then in Europe, you put it in a blind trust for a year, which is why Nice and United can both compete.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. UEFA have their own reasons. They don't enforce this to the letter of the law, and they found accommodations, and the rules may yet change. FIFA, it's right there. It's in black and white. And I know that we're all used to being cynical about FIFA, and they've given many reasons to be cynical. I think there's two important points to it. One is they applied their own rules. Eventually, the FIFA Appeals Committee did, because originally Leon were in the tournament. It's not like, we've got a problem. Hey, Leon. Okay, Grupo Pachuca, get rid of Leon, or we're going to have a problem, right? So this tells me, that I don't think Gianni Infantino particularly cares one way or the other, but certainly maybe he's not as omnipotent as people thought, right? Because the appeals committee came up with this. Some people say that they were scared because, the complaint could have gone to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which they might have overturned it, might have been embarrassing. It's still embarrassing. It's March. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the end of March, right?
Yeah.
This tournament kicks off June 12th, June 14th.
14th,
what are you going to do? So right now, the teams in Leon's group are going to play against an X. Now, there's a team called Alajuelense in Costa Rica, which, based on whatever convoluted ranking system CONCACAF had, they say it should be us and not Grupo Leon. We're the next ones up. There's other teams. I think there's other potential claimants. They have to figure this out in double quick time. I am glad the rules are being applied, Jules. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The rules are
That's
there.
the right thing to do. I know it's a shame for Leon and their fans, but this is the rules.
And I'll say to Liga MX, if Grupo Pachuca owns both Pachuca and Leon, and they both play in Liga MX, this is a freaking joke.
That is joke.
This is like the early days of MLS when the same people owned like 9 different franchises. That's fine in WWE. Not in sports. No, I agree. You cannot have this. Absolutely. And they should look at this domestically as well.
Absolutely.
More women's football. Chelsea may have lost to Manchester City in the first leg of the Champions League, but the WSL is another matter, Jules.
It is, because they went to City and won 2-1, late. Aggie Beaver-Jones with the winning goal. It was a great game again. I mean, it was a wonderful Sunday of women's action, to be fair, between Spain and England. And I think for a long time, City, who took the lead and were very good in the first half. Nick Cushion, again, doing it like he did in the 4 days before in the Champions League. But Chelsea,
by boring everybody and being defensive?
No, but like finding a way. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that this is the most.
It's fine. He's an interim coach. That's okay. Sorry, Nick.
But he used to be there before and used to be very good as well with City. But just finding a way of beating this incredible Chelsea team, even with the rotation that Sonia Bonpasta did. Ramirez, for example, starting.
Did they get jobbed a little bit when they didn't play advantage?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there was a few things in that game that if you're City, maybe you're not too happy with. But in the end, Chelsea won, go back to 8 points clear of Arsenal in second place, which would have been 5 with a defeat and maybe a little bit touchy in the league. But really, they won the Champions League. I mean, I'm sure Sonia would want to win the WSL, sure, and they're still very much in for a quadruple. But the one they want is turning over that 2-goal deficit from the first leg away at City at Stamford Bridge on Thursday night.
That's going to be huge.